Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We're looking at a Thursday night slate, Nate, with a good game here. A couple stars out for the Bucks and the Warriors in terms of Drew Holiday and Draymond Green. Not likely to play either of them, but we do have a couple of value points in here we're looking at. Nate does have his great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page, as we've got a couple other videos up for you today, including that player props video we're trying to stay hot on. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, it opens with the nationally televised game here. Warriors are plus 1.5 at the Bucks, with a total of 223.5. That hasn't moved much. As you mentioned, Draymond out and Drew Holiday doubtful on the Bucks side there. 4 other games to follow. We will break down Minnesota, which is plus 5 at Memphis, total creeping up to 231 there. The Clippers are plus 3.5 at the Pelicans. Thunder plus 7.5 at Nets. It started at about 9 or 10 points, but Brooklyn on a back-to-back here. So we expect at least, no Kyrie Irving, that's for sure. And you got to wonder if one of the other 2 big 3 sit. And then the Blazers, who continue to get bad news. No Damian Lillard, no Anthony Simons tonight, are plus 10 at Denver. The Warriors and Bucks here, it's certainly an intriguing matchup to watch. Certainly one that we would expect more defense than offense, even though those are probably the best 2 defenders on each side here, Draymond and Drew. But as we talked about 2 nights ago, the Warriors' offense suffers as much or more without Draymond. Offensive rating drops from 113 to 106. Their defensive rating rises about 12 points as well there. They're just 11 and 26 straight up without Draymond since 2020. This season, 2 and 4 without him, but one of those wins against Detroit almost doesn't count. And the 3-pointers really suffering. And that's where Milwaukee forces you to beat them. They give up the second highest percentage of points off threes, giving up over 14 triples per game. They're certainly going to try to make other people besides Steph and Klay Thompson shoot. But now that you have both Splash Brothers, and Klay's going to play tonight, probably 25 minutes or so because he's going to sit tomorrow. He's been free firing, that's for sure, though. Usage rate around 35%. And he should continue. So that will help the Warriors probably keep pace here. But they've just really been struggling lately with Steph, not being superhuman. They have the worst offensive rating in basketball over their last 5. Milwaukee, not much better, lost 4 of their last 5, and they're 21st in offense in that span. You already like a Warriors under on the road, sort of regardless of the situation. And then you look at the Bucks struggling on their end. It does seem like 223 is a bit high here. My first inclination would be to bet that under, but to tease it to 227 because I want to tease the Grizzlies here. They're minus 4 or 5 at home, and I want to get that down to a pick'em where I can just bank on them extending their win streak one way or another against Minnesota. So I would love to just do that with this under here. Giannis has just not, you would think like he's going to dominate without Draymond Green. Actually, in the last 5 against the Warriors, his numbers have gone down when Draymond is out. Some of that is just the nature of the game. They've had some lopsided results here, including the Bucks winning by 39 points on Christmas 2 years ago at home. Warriors haven't won in Milwaukee since 2018. And they continue to just, struggle a bit on the road. At least in this recent stretch, and they're 4-3 straight up as underdogs. I'm leaning towards just taking the Bucks here and taking Giannis as that dude that just says, when there's a potential finals preview or a premier matchup and you're coming to our house, we will not lose. I'm going to treat this, credit his European sensibilities, right? To say, this is the biggest game. I don't care. I'm not going to play it cool and wait for the playoffs. And we saw that, last week against Brooklyn when he just dominated on both ends and the Bucks cruised. you didn't even need much help there. So I think Bucks at home here, if you're looking for a money line bet or, this -1 spread doesn't really matter. But I think the under, especially if you can tease it up, is even better.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. I mean, it's definitely priority 1A is the under for me as well. I mean, both these teams go under in the places they're playing tonight, right? The Dubs 7-12 to the under. When they are playing, to the over. So they basically their under hits 12 out of their 19 games on the road. For the Bucks, it's 8 out of, they've only hit the over 8 of their 20 home games. Right. So it's an under bet here for both of them for sure. I like the idea of teasing this one. We've talked about in the past, we don't love the idea of teasing all the time, but this situation is one where the spread is so close. I don't expect a Warriors blowout. This is one of those games where I might eye a team total, but to be honest, because of the fact that these Dubs have been the worst offensive team in the league over their last 5, the second best defensive team, that hasn't waned at all or wavered ever. Even when Draymond's out, yes, their defensive rating is worse by about 4 points per 100, but it's that offensive rating that's way worse without him. It got even worse the other night, and their defensive rating actually got a little bit worse too without him when they played Memphis without him. So look, I trust Milwaukee at home with Drew missing more than I do Golden State anywhere without Draymond. Draymond is in the top 10 without question to me as most pivotal person to what his team does on both sides of the floor. Doesn't get as much credit on offense, even though he's got the 7 assists a game. It's more about the spacing. It's more about the first pass to the second pass, etc. He just knows where the ball is going at all times. That's why I think the offense struggles a little bit more. Look, they gave up 116 the other night to Memphis, who is the 4th best offensive team in the league right now, and honestly, over their last 20 games has been pretty much the best offensive team in the league. And so, that's not too much of a knock on them. There's nobody slowing down Memphis right now. I think we go back to those underways where, we've seen those unders hit as of late for both these teams. There's been a few anomalies in there, mostly because it's a lopsided win for one of these teams when that happens. But I still think at 223.5, like I said, that awful net, defensive rating for the Dubs, and the fact that Milwaukee's kind of stayed in the same spot. They've been pretty bad over their last 5 or 6, as we mentioned too, but they've sort of maintained at least somewhat of their offensive efficiency, whereas the Warriors have none. And I would consider under the Warriors team total. Yet somehow I'm still feeling decent about Steph Curry as well, which feels a little bit odd. No.
Yeah, I mean, Steph, he comes to play as you put here, these 36 plus and 6 straight when the Warriors are underdogs against an Eastern Conference team. I'm teasing that he's going to lead player props today. I don't really care about the Warriors winning or losing when I'm betting on Steph Curry having a pretty big game here tonight. Sort of showing signs of breaking out of that slump. Against Memphis, he had a couple off the dribble moves that left him shaking his head, as in, why aren't I just torching guys like this all the time? And Milwaukee, as I mentioned, it just gives up such a high percentage of shots beyond the arc. They don't have Drew Holiday, who, even with Drew out there, Steph went for 41 the last time these teams faced off. So that's one of those 36-point games. Yeah, he's certainly going to come to play in this matchup. But, yeah, it's hard to trust much around him right now with Clay showing notable rust, expected rust after, I think, 31 months out of the NBA. It just creates a bit of an awkward flow with Wiggins no longer being the secondary option. He has to get in where he fits in. Jordan Poole now coming off the bench. It's just a lot of guys getting used to their roles right now. And it's a Milwaukee team that is 3 points better on the defensive end per 100 at home. That allows just 106 points per game at home. The Warriors, even though they're better defensively at home, allowing just 102 points per game on the road. We're talking an average way below what this total sits at here. And the pace has just slowed down without Draymond. That's pretty notable too. I mean, he's the guy who pushes, right? Who can get the rebound and push. And without him, they're playing a lot more half-court basketball, way less efficient, the least efficient team in the league here. And Bucks also struggling to find their offense here as they reintegrate guys like DiVincenzo and continue to play without Drew, who's been an unsung hero for sure on both ends of the floor for them.
Yeah, definitely. And, even if you, like you said, even if you like Steph in this game, nobody else for the Warriors is doing anything right now. Everybody's sort of fallen off. And part of that, at the very least, is, as you mentioned, Klay Thompson coming back and to a degree throwing a wrench in things, and that's okay. You'd rather have him now, get him back in the lineup. He's going to be ready for the playoffs and they'll be running a lot better. But right now, what's happened since he came in, especially you mentioned Andrew Wiggins, in the last two since Klay's been back, it's not much of a sample size, but it's telling. It's Klay in 20 minutes with that 30% plus usage rate. Now you've got Jordan Poole averaging less, 13 a game for him, 11.5 for Wiggins. GP, the young glove, 11 a game. So, Otto Porter Jr. back down to 7.5. There was a stretch over the, previous to their recent 5-game woes where, between Wiggins, Poole, and Otto Porter Jr. especially, all three of them are averaging above double digits. Wiggins was closer to his 18.5 that he was on the season. And then everything just sort of dips because they're not sure how to play with Klay Thompson. Everybody wants to get him the ball. Everybody wants to be in on the fun that is Klay. I think that's, actually something that is helping Steph because he has looked around a little bit more rather than just shooting and taking these normal amount of field goal attempts. So I kind of consider for him that points, rebounds, and assists tonight. And we can talk about that later. I mean, at the end of the day, it kind of seems like we like the under. We definitely like the under more than the over. We like the Bucks more than the Dubs, but more than anything, we like Steph Curry to score. Next time, maybe we'll just do a Steph Curry episode. But either way, I think he's the most interesting thing that, we're going to be watching tonight. And 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's averaging more than that, even over their last 6 games where they're struggling a lot. He's averaging more than that when Draymond's not playing, and even with Klay back, because he's getting those ancillary stats of those rebounds and assists. So, if he gets to his 27, 28 points that you expect him to get tonight, I love him to get over 10 rebounds and assists combined there. So, I feel really, really good about 38.5 getting closer to 40. Something, once again, that we will tease and talk about a little bit more in that player props video. But because this is such a fun game, we wanted to get it in here and definitely want to make clear Steph Curry tonight for sure, even though the Bucks probably pull this one out. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page and check out those other couple videos we have for you today. Till we see you next, happy betting.